Next at noon, the Rockies' opening game at Coors Field is tomorrow, and the city is celebrating by painting the town purple, or Blake Street at least. And did you know many of the fruits and vegetables you and your kids eat are likely first treated to regular doses of sun, water, and pesticides? But some studies suggest one of the common pesticides may be damaging to a child's brain. Plus, after some cold, wet weather earlier this week, warm temps and sunny skies are back. 9 News at noon is next.
This is 9 News.
We start with developing news this afternoon. A young girl hit by a car outside Greenlee Elementary School has been taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Denver police say the girl was crossing Lipan Street to get to school when she was struck. North Lipan was closed between 11th and 12th Avenue for the investigation. This was not a hit and run. The driver did stay at the scene. Officers say speed was not a factor. No charges have been filed at this point. We're working to learn how the girl is doing and the extent of her injuries. Once we know, we'll pass them along. This is how it looks on the Senate floor right now, where Republicans are making a push to confirm Supreme Court Justice nominee Neil Gorsuch. Democrats filibustered the vote, triggering a series of votes that ultimately led to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to invoke the nuclear option. Colorado Senator Michael Bennet was among 4 Senate Democrats that voted against that filibuster. The use of the so-called nuclear option ends a 4-decades-old rule and could possibly change Supreme Court confirmations for the foreseeable future. With the new rule in place, Republicans got the 51 votes needed to bypass a filibuster. A final confirmation vote could happen as early as tomorrow evening. If this beautiful weather doesn't have you pumped up for baseball, maybe this will put you in the mood. Denver Public Works crews are out painting that famous Colorado Rockies purple stripe along Blake Street. Crews are also painting Rockies logos along the street. The stripe is painted along Blake, starting at 22nd Street and going through 19th Street. For those of you who aren't familiar with this tradition, it began in 1995 when the Rockies held their first home opener at Coors Field. Today, fantastic weather to be outside along Blake Street. Tomorrow, even better. Marty, we're talking 70s. That is baseball weather. It
is total baseball weather. You'll be out there much earlier than that.
Right.
So you'll be out there when it's closer to 40 than 70, but it's going to be quite lovely. Today, already clear conditions, or I should say continued clear conditions across the Front Range. The view from right here at 9 News looking out over the mile-high skyline is spectacular. Up to the Continental Divide we go with the fresh snow up there, really looking superb here. And the snow has been great, and it has helped our drought conditions. 2 weeks ago, most of eastern Colorado either in severe to moderate drought conditions. Today, we haven't helped up that much here on the I-25 corridor, but we've gone from moderate drought to abnormally dry. Now, that's a little better than it has been. Snowpack still running above average. This is great news also because this is the critical time of year for the snowpack as we start melting it off. And from some of the pictures we had come into the area yesterday, it has really been spectacular in Colorado's mountain locations. Today, we move into the mid-60s. Tomorrow, Corey, we go even warmer. Coors Field, I think, could be 71, 72 degrees easily.
So nice. When we're out there, it's going to be a little bit chillier.
A little
Thanks
cooler,
for the reminder.
but that's okay. It won't be blizzard or 20 or anything like that.
There's been worse opening days before.
Lots.
Yes. All right, Marty, thank you. Those driving along C-470 between I-70 and US 285 should anticipate closures today. CDOT says they're out repairing potholes today, which most of us can appreciate this time of year. They're using rolling lane closures in both directions to get the job done. The time is finally here for the University of Denver's men's hockey team. They face off tonight in the Frozen Four against Notre Dame in Chicago. The Pioneers made it to this point last year but fell to North Dakota. A win gets them into the national championship. It all starts at 7:30 tonight on ESPN2. Our 9 News sports reporter Aaron Matus is in Chicago with the team. Look for coverage from him today on 9 News. The House Intelligence Committee chair is stepping down from the Russia investigation. Devin Nunes says when it comes to the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election, he's out. Democrats agree this is best.
Will, I think, allow us to have a fresh start moving forward. I look forward to working with Mr. Conaway. This, I think, investigation is of such critical importance that we need to get fully back on track.
Nunes claimed last month that a secret source showed him information suggesting President Trump and his associates may have been monitored by U.S. intelligence during the transition. He later backed off the explosive claim when it came out that he had gone to the White House grounds to read the documents. Texas Republican Congressman Mike Conaway will temporarily take charge of the House Intelligence Committee probe into Russia. Denver police have opened an assault investigation after the driver of an SUV struck 3 pedestrians early this morning. It happened outside of Stone nightclub on Morrison Road. One person was taken to the hospital with a broken leg. The driver was arrested. The man who escaped from authorities twice during a 14-hour search last week is in jail now. Adam Fulford had been in the hospital recovering from his injuries following that search. He is now booked on a $500,000 bond. Law enforcement originally showed up at his apartment to serve him with arrest warrants when he fled. Sheriff's deputies say he shot a taxi driver and stole that vehicle as police closed in on him. Fulford is facing a host of felony charges, including aggravated robbery, motor vehicle theft, and vehicular assault, just to name a few. Denver Public Schools says about $40,000 is missing. That's after someone illegally changed direct deposit accounts for more than a dozen employees. After a review, Denver Public Schools found 25 employees changed their account information, but 14 of them didn't authorize it. The district thinks those employees fell for a phishing email, which tricks people into giving out personal information. DPS provided pay cards to those who didn't get their money, and we'll see if insurance will help cover the loss. President Trump is hosting the Chinese president today at his Florida estate. He's expected to bring up North Korea's 4th nuclear test and what China plans to do about it.
We have a big problem. We have somebody that is not doing the right thing, and that's going to be my responsibility.
Another issue the president is expected to discuss is the chemical attack in Syria earlier this week. Mr. Trump openly criticized China during his election campaign. General Electric's light bulb business may be in the dark soon. A pretty big deal being that bulbs defined the company at one point. Reports say the business could fetch about $500 million. GE has been selling most of its consumer-related businesses in recent years to focus on its core industrial products such as power turbines and aircraft engines. Why are Denver dogs so mad at mail carriers? A new report from the U.S. Postal Service finds last year was not a good year to be a letter carrier in the Mile High City. We're actually the 7th worst in the country when it comes to dog attacks on postal workers. There were 47 attacks on mailmen and women in 2016, a 24% increase over the year before and double what it was 5 years ago. For the record, Los Angeles was the worst. Dog owners, we have some tips for you to help assure Denver doesn't slip further in those rankings. You can find those on our website at 9news.com. More than 500,000 asthma inhalers are being recalled. We'll let you know which ones. Also, after a cold, wet few days to start the week, warmth and sunshine is on the way. More than 500,000 inhalers are being recalled today. That's because the FDA says they can leak. The inhalers were made by GlaxoSmithKline. The product is called Ventolin Inhalation HFA Aerosol. That's prescription only. To find more details, visit 9news.com. There's concern today that the fresh fruits and veggies in your fridge may give you more than just vitamins. The EPA, now under the new Trump administration, has overruled a proposed ban on a commonly used pesticide that's raising health concerns. But some studies suggest the pesticide chlorpyrifos can actually harm a child's brain.
Absolutely outrageous. EPA has made findings for 2.5 years now that this pesticide is unsafe and particularly unsafe for children.
But farmers say it is the most effective pesticide out there, so they're relieved to hear the EPA won't be banning it. In fact, the EPA is reversing efforts by the Obama administration to do so. A college hockey team in Minnesota is making a janitor's dreams come true by sending him home 3 decades after he left his family in Ethiopia. Lindsay Sievert from our sister station in Minnesota has the story.
Ask any player on the Augsburg College men's hockey team. One of the greatest victories of this season isn't reflected in any scoreboard, but instead can be found in Manasi Theolophus's smile.
cleaning the glass right now in the restroom, in the locker room.
As a beloved custodian at Augsburg for 25 years, Manassi exceeds his goal of keeping the ice arena spotless.
But this particular team is the best team ever.
Manassi wasn't exposed to hockey in his native Ethiopia, but here witnessed the true love of the game.
A month and a half ago, my mother passed away. And each one of these kids had signed a card.
And the team didn't stop there.
We were beyond broken. I think everyone can agree with that when they found out.
Learning Manassi couldn't say goodbye to his mother or return to Ethiopia in over 3 decades, they started a fundraiser and in hours exceeded their own goal of $3,000.
To give you thanks for your selflessness, your service, your care and the joy that you bring to the rink to the guys, and we just want to say we love you and go see home. We're gonna get you home.
Manassi will travel to Norway, where his father is now staying with his brother.
There is nothing really more joyful than working for such a people.
But as it turns out, Manassi's family
I never forget this.
is closer than he ever knew.
Have fun. You deserve it. You guys are great.
What a great story. A group of people coming together. Again, that was Lindsay Sievert at our sister station Kara in Minneapolis. Nearly 3 months after his death, legendary astronaut and U.S. Senator John Glenn will be buried today at Arlington National Cemetery. Glenn was the first American to orbit the Earth. After space, he spent 25 years as a U.S. Senator in Ohio. He made history again in 1998 when he became the oldest person sent into space. Glenn was 95 when he passed in December. Well, it's a problem we can't afford to ignore. We're going to look at a new study showing just how hard the heroin epidemic is hitting Colorado and what we can do to help save more lives. A new report highlights what we've been talking about a lot lately, heroin, the highly addictive drug that seems to target anyone and everyone. A multi-agency report finds heroin-related deaths among Colorado residents have doubled between 2011 and 2015. We're talking 160 deaths in 2015 alone. I'm here with Dr. Larry Walk, the Executive Director and Chief Medical Officer at the Colorado Department of Public Health. This is a big problem for Colorado. Why here?
Well, it's a problem everywhere in this country, and so Colorado's not immune from it. You know, this is a drug and a group of drugs that don't discriminate based on where you live, what your gender is, what your income is, what your race is. We see it across the board. And
that's kind of the difference between some other drugs that are certain, hit certain populations a little bit differently. This doesn't discriminate at all.
It doesn't, and it surprises people because they think, oh, a heroin addict is somebody who's homeless living on the street, when in fact, sure, there are some people who fit that profile, but there are just as many people who are living in wealthy communities, in the suburbs, middle class, lower class. Again, doesn't discriminate.
The numbers really are astonishing. What makes a person decide to try such a highly addictive drug?
Well, through this report that was released today, we found out from over 700 people who are in treatment, the main reason why they get addicted is, number one, they're looking for a quick high and experimenting and curious, and then an overwhelming majority of them found a path through prescription opiates. So through those painkillers that might be prescribed for you if you have a surgery and you're recovering from surgery, or if you have chronic pain. And so it's really important for us to address the heroin issue by addressing prescription painkillers as well.
There are a lot of methadone clinics have opened up recently. How does that help?
So the research shows that medication-assisted treatment is the best way to get people from being addicted or get them off heroin. And so whether it's methadone, you hear of bupe, you hear of Suboxone, these are all medications, but a problem for us here in Colorado, because we have so many rural areas, is we don't have enough healthcare providers, doctors and others who are trained in providing medication-assisted treatment. So one of our approaches through the health department, through our partners in a number of agencies, is to get more training for healthcare providers so more people can have access to medication-assisted treatment.
Would you say, in your opinion, that methadone is kind of the answer to preventing heroin deaths?
Well,
or does it go back farther than that?
I think it goes back farther. You know, the average age that someone becomes a heroin addict is in their early 20s. And so that means something's going on with our kids, maybe who are under something called toxic stress, or our teenagers. And so if we really want to prevent addiction, then we have to look further back and start intervening through schools and through families with our kids and our teenagers.
The report is really interesting, and we're going to put all your information and, of course, the report on our website at 9news.com. Dr. Larry Walk, really appreciate you coming in today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back. All right, we have some news to pass along. We're sad to tell you that comedian Don Rickles has passed away at the age of 90, a legendary comedian known with a gift for the insult. And so we just learned all this information about comedian Don Rickles passing away, age 90, legendary comedian. We're going to have more for you coming up on 9 News at 4 o'clock. Some people who are sick or injured aren't waiting around for an ambulance. Instead, they're calling Uber to take them to the emergency room. Time isn't the only factor here, and Uber can be much cheaper than an ambulance bill. Many doctors warn against calling an Uber instead of an ambulance because they don't have the life-saving skills and equipment that paramedics do. All right, Marty's joining us now. I can't believe the forecast for tomorrow's opening day.
It's going to be quite lovely. It's going to be perfect. Today would be just fine too, with sunshine, mid-60s during the day today. We may see a few fair weather clouds tomorrow, but I would put this into the mild category with low 70s here, partly cloudy conditions through the afternoon tomorrow, and we will stay dry throughout the area. Tomorrow and Saturday, in fact, looking pretty dry. A sprinkle, little more than that on Sunday, and they may as well just stay home and play the rest of the games for the next couple of weeks here.
Wow.